Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really zeroing in on just one packed day, August 6th, 2025. The world just threw a ton of headlines at us, right?
Yeah.
And our mission always is to pull out the most important knowledge and insights from your sources, basically giving you a shortcut to truly being well-informed.
Yeah, and what's really remarkable about looking at a single day like August 6th is how it reveals the intricate tapestry of seemingly separate events. We're talking geopolitics, economics, climate, society. It's all weaving together. Unpacking these connections can lead to some significant aha moments, showing how everything is far more intertwined than it first appears.
That's certainly a critical lens, yeah. Our goal is to provide that clarity and context, navigating the information overload so you get the full picture without feeling, overwhelmed. Okay, let's unpack this. We're starting our deep dive with global diplomacy and evolving conflicts, and there's no better place to begin than with the high-stakes efforts around the Russia-Ukraine war. On August 6th, 2025, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff met directly with President Vladimir Putin in Moscow. What's truly noteworthy is that both U.S. and Russian officials later described this meeting as constructive and highly productive, even as sanctions remain firmly in place. And we also heard President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky publicly state that everyone agrees this war must come to a close. Now that phrase, constructive and productive, feels pretty significant given the circumstances, doesn't it?
It absolutely does, and it prompts us to think beyond the surface. The real insight here isn't just about whether aid forces a resolution, but maybe how it inadvertently creates a prolonged stalemate. Sanctions might contain the conflict, but they also give Russia less immediate incentive to back down, while Ukrainian leaders feel immense pressure not to concede. It sort of locks both sides into a dangerous holding pattern. And adding to that complexity, there's that looming White House deadline for Russia to negotiate a ceasefire or face sweeping new U.S. secondary tariffs affecting its global trade partners.
You mentioned secondary tariffs there, and that's a key term that might not be immediately clear to everyone. Could you quickly explain what makes them secondary?
Oh, sure. So when we talk about secondary tariffs in this context, it means these wouldn't just be on Russian goods themselves. Instead, they could be levied on goods from any country that continues doing business with Russia after the deadline. It's designed to exert pressure not just on Russia, but on its trading partners, really forcing them to choose sides.
That's a powerful economic lever, yeah. And even amidst these diplomatic overtures, the battlefield narrative continues. On that same day, Ukrainian commanders reported successfully repelling a Russian border offensive. They credited newly delivered U.S. defense systems with being pivotal in halting the incursion.
Right.
This apparently led to a surge in morale among Ukrainian troops and civilians, though it was met with skepticism in Washington, questioning the cost. And Russia's foreign ministry dismissed the reports as just Western propaganda.
So standard dismissals there.
From Eastern Europe, our focus shifts to another persistent global hotspot, the deepening Gaza crisis in the Middle East. On August 6, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu convened security officials to consider, an unprecedented full military occupation of the Gaza Strip. And this came after months of intensifying operations.
And if we kind of zoom out here, the significant international concern voiced by allies and human rights groups, it warns that further escalation will deepen the humanitarian crisis and potentially provoke wider conflict, even as Israeli military leaders express their own concerns about, unsustainable losses and the risk of long-term entanglement for their forces.
Right.
This all continues to fuel urgent calls for more secure humanitarian corridors.
And related to this, on August 6th, we saw a Day of Rage protest announced in Greece. It was organized by left-wing groups in the BDS movement, that's boycott, divestment, sanctions. And it specifically targeted Israeli tourists and tourist zones. They were denouncing what they called war crimes and genocide, and this followed a wave of anti-Semitic incidents in Athens.
A tense situation.
Israeli officials and Jewish communities condemned the announcement naturally, while Greek municipal leaders defended it under the umbrella of, free speech.
A difficult line to walk there.
Now let's bring listeners to Japan, where August 6 marked the 80th anniversary of the Hiroshima bombing. Nationwide remembrance ceremonies emphasized peace and nuclear disarmament. Survivors, often known as hibakusha in Japan, and officials reiterated urgent calls for global denuclearization. 80 years. That's a profound milestone, but the conversation around nuclear weapons still feels so immediate, doesn't it?
It truly does. And a critical question that emerges is, how do we reconcile the profound lessons of Hiroshima with the the resurgent concerns about nuclear proliferation and conflict we're seeing globally today, from the war in Ukraine to rising tensions in East Asia, it's striking that opinion on this is divided. Many peace activists fault Japan's government for not signing the nuclear ban treaty, while others point to ongoing security challenges, like the threat from North Korea. It's a complex ethical tightrope for any nation to walk.
Definitely complex. It's clear that geopolitical tensions and conflict have a direct impact on people, but they also dramatically reshape global commerce. Let's shift our focus now to the economic realm. August 6th saw a dramatic policy shift that's set to have ripple effects worldwide. Sweeping tariffs introduced by President Trump took effect, affecting nearly all major trading partners. We're talking the EU, Japan, Taiwan, India, Switzerland, with tariffs going as high as 39%.
Wow, that's significant.
And as an additional measure, the U.S. imposed a 25% tariff on Indian goods. This was specifically a penalty for India's continued purchases of Russian oil, which raises overall tariffs on some Indian goods to 50%, the highest level imposed by the U.S. on any major trading partner.
50%.
As you might expect, India's government condemned these measures as unfair, unjustified, and unreasonable.
Well, yeah. And one key observation here is the potential for significant long-term global fallout. Economists are already warning of higher consumer prices, reduced cross-border investment. This action certainly deepens U.S.-India tensions and could damage both economies. And we've already seen Brazil officially request WTO consultations in response to these tariffs, which sets a very interesting precedent, for other affected nations potentially following suit.
That's a really complex dynamic. When you say significant long-term global fallout, are we talking about a complete redrawing of trade maps or more like localized, painful adjustments?
It's likely to be a bit of both, I think. While it might not instantly redraw every single trade map, it certainly accelerates the diversification of supply chains away from the U.S., and it creates an incentive for other nations to form their own trade blocs or bilateral agreements to sort of circumvent these tariffs. This could lead to a more fractured global trading system over time.
Okay, makes sense. On the domestic economic front, we saw some interesting signals from U.S. markets. On August 6, Apple announced a massive $100 billion investment plan focused on expanding U.S. manufacturing, research, and infrastructure over 4 years. That's quite a commitment.
Huge commitment.
This sparked a sharp uptick in Apple shares and helped lift broader market sentiment.
Definitely gave things a boost.
However, while U.S. markets closed higher on August 6, partly buoyed by Apple, corporate earnings revealed a very mixed picture. Disney shares actually fell despite beating revenue expectations. Supermicro dropped on weak guidance, and AMD and Snap suffered steep declines after reporting disappointing results.
Yeah, this divergence really highlights investor caution. While the market rally reflected some optimism tied to Apple and, overall tech strength, there's an underlying fragility due to uncertainties like export restrictions, advertising demand, shifting consumer behavior. That just keeps a lid on broader confidence.
Got it. And briefly on the labor front, some 10,000 Air Canada flight attendants authorized a strike late on August 6. They're demanding higher wages and better working conditions. This is a situation that could threaten late summer and early fall travel disruptions for many people.
Yeah, definitely something to watch.
Okay, shifting gears now, let's talk about climate's immediate impact, specifically the escalating climate-driven disasters we witnessed. On August 6, France battled its largest wildfire since 1949 in the Aude region. Tragically, at least one person was killed and multiple injured, including 11 firefighters. And local residents expressed grief and anger over what they perceived as a lack of preparedness.
That's awful. And it's striking how these widespread events really underscore the accelerating impact of climate change. Scientists are tracing these more common and severe wildfires and the resulting smoke directly to hotter, drier summers. It really forces us to confront the urgent need for more specific climate adaptation funding and comprehensive disaster resilience planning, not just general climate action.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, in eastern Canada, 3 out-of-control fires in Newfoundland and Labrador forced hundreds of evacuations. The largest of these fires actually doubled in size overnight, destroying homes and prompting investigations into the cause.
Just devastating.
And the ripple effect was widespread. Wildfire smoke from Newfoundland, Labrador, California, and other regions sent smoke as far as the Midwest and northeastern U.S. It triggered air quality alerts for millions and disrupted daily life.
You really see how interconnected these things are.
And the extreme weather wasn't confined to wildfires. Across the globe, from northern India to Italy, August 6 brought other dramatic reminders of climate's power. Northern India, particularly Uttarakhand, was slammed by a cloudburst. It triggered a mudslide and flash flooding, confirming at least 4 fatalities and dozens missing.
Just terrible news.
And in a rare meteorological phenomenon off Italy's Po River Delta coast, breathtaking footage captured twin waterspouts swirling. Meteorologists confirmed strong convective storms driving these formations, and experts pointed to such storms becoming more frequent with rising sea surface temperatures.
Right, and zooming out, climate scientists are warning that extreme heat and drought, like the record temperatures nearing 40 degrees Celsius across southern France and Spain, they're predicted to become the new normal. This isn't just a weather report, it signals a need for radical adaptation in how we manage land, grow our food, and build our infrastructure globally.
The new normal. That's a sobering phrase. Okay, moving to domestic crossroads within the U.S., a significant political battle unfolded in Texas. On August 6, Texas Republicans moved their plan forward in the state legislature for a rare mid-decade congressional redistricting. It was specifically aimed at gaining at least 5 new GOP-held House seats ahead of the 2026 midterms.
Mid-decade, that's unusual.
Very. The Democratic response was swift and dramatic. Lawmakers fled the state to break quorum, echoing past tactics. This prompted Governor Greg Abbott to threaten arrest or expulsion. Interestingly, Democrats in New York and California also announced plans for their own aggressive redistricting if Texas moves forward, creating this escalating arms race, as some called it. Legal experts warned it could lead to looming court fights and ultimately less competitive elections.
Yeah, a critical question emerges here. What does this unprecedented mid-cycle redraw mean for democratic norms and fair elections? Critics argue it fundamentally undermines democratic processes. While supporters say it's a necessary response to demographic and electoral changes, either way, it has profound national implications for control of Congress.
A major fight brewing there. Next, a truly controversial decision impacting public health. On August 6, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced that the Department of Health and Human Services would terminate contracts for $500 million in mRNA vaccine development. This halted dozens of projects targeting various viruses, including COVID-19 and influenza.
Wow, $500 million cut just like that.
Just like that. Kennedy's stance has been clear. He called the mRNA approach problematic and promised to fund safer vaccine strategies. Major pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer and Moderna were directly affected by this decision.
And the stark division this decision created is, well, fascinating in a way. Health experts called it a bad day for science, warning it would impair the U.S. capacity to rapidly respond to emerging diseases and fuel vaccine hesitancy. Conversely, supporters argue it reflects a genuine concern for safety and the need for broader approaches to vaccine development, potentially shifting global leadership in this vital research. It's a fundamental split in how we approach future pandemic preparedness.
A really deep division on that one. And briefly, a concerning domestic security incident to touch on. On August 6, a mass shooting at Fort Stewart Army Base in Georgia. It injured 5 soldiers, none fatally, thankfully. The suspect, an active duty sergeant, was detained without resistance.
Yeah, this event unfortunately reignites those perennial debates on firearms access and internal threat detection within the armed forces. It prompts experts to call for a deeper evaluation of base safety protocols and, importantly, mental health resources within the ranks.
Definitely needed. Okay, let's shift to some moments of hope and scientific advancement from August 6th. A zoo in the Czech Republic announced the birth of 4 rare Barbary lion cubs, the first in captivity in years. This offers crucial hope for further conservation of the species, which is sadly extinct in the wild. That's a powerful win for conservation, isn't it?
It absolutely is a true testament to dedicated conservation efforts. It reminds us that even against daunting odds, there are opportunities for positive impact. A little bit of good news.
Definitely good news. And a major scientific discovery was announced that day. Researchers identified a neurobiotic sense. Apparently, it's a unique way gut cells rapidly detect microbial proteins and send appetite-suppressing messages straight to the brain. This opens fascinating new avenues for treating obesity and metabolic diseases. How incredible is it that we're still discovering entirely new senses?
It's truly mind-boggling, isn't it? And highlights the frontiers of human biology we're still exploring. This kind of breakthrough offers real, tangible hope for public health challenges like obesity that have long plagued us.
Amazing stuff. Finally, we saw the challenging medical evacuation of 3 researchers from the U.S. McMurdo Station in Antarctica. This was done by the Royal New Zealand Air Force amidst extreme cold and darkness. It really highlights the immense logistical difficulties and risks inherent in polar research.
Yeah, incredibly tough conditions down there.
And just briefly, before we wrap up with a final thought, a few other notable global incidents from August 6th. There was a tragic helicopter crash in Ghana that killed all 8 aboard, including the Defense Minister Edward Omane Boama and the Environment Minister Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed. It prompted calls for upgrades to transportation safety.
Yeah, terrible loss.
In Lebanon, military forces engaged and killed 3 of the country's most wanted drug traffickers in a shootout. This was lauded as a significant blow to organized crime. However, human rights groups urged due process and transparency in the aftermath.
Right, always important context there.
And in Haiti, the fragile transitional government faced turmoil over allegations. Apparently, a communications employee was threatened to issue a press release supporting a contested pork contract. This fueled concerns over the country's path forward amidst accusations of coercion and corruption.
Yeah, Haiti continues to face immense challenges. You know, one thing that truly stands out from this deep dive is how these diverse stories, from conservation wins and critical health innovations to the ongoing challenges of governance and safety worldwide, they all contribute to a complex, ever-evolving global narrative on just a single day. It reminds us just how interconnected our world truly is.
Absolutely. As we wrap up this deep dive, it's clear that August 6, 2025, was a day packed with intense geopolitical maneuvering, profound economic shifts, stark environmental warnings, and crucial societal debates, all interspersed with remarkable scientific and conservation efforts.
And this brings us to a compelling question for you, the listener. As information accelerates and global events become more intertwined, how does understanding these connections help you make sense of the world and maybe anticipate what might come next? We encourage you to continue that critical thinking and the pursuit of deeper understanding.
Indeed. Consider how the specific events of a single day, like those we explored today, can set in motion ripple effects that shape long-term trends in ways we might not immediately perceive. So what does this all mean for you? We hope this deep dive helps you feel just a little more prepared for whatever tomorrow's headlines bring.